Hi everyone, Christina here. Welcome to another card video at my YouTube channel and blog. I'm starting out with the Painterly Days Flower Watercolor Coloring Book. This is a book from Christy Rice, and she sent me along a copy, and actually I had it on order from Amazon. I got the one from Amazon, and then she sent me another one. She has a couple different options. She's got this flower one and a pattern one. The pattern is the book that she sent me. But I wanted to show you guys this coloring book because it's really kind of cool. It's specifically for watercolor. So you know you're going to have some good paper inside for your watercoloring, and there's also awesome designs inside with lots of bigger spaces where you can really play with your watercolor. Some other coloring books that have smaller images where you don't have much of an opportunity to sort of play around with the different colors, but this is a really great book that has some larger areas, and for me, flowers are always really fun to color anyway. So I'm going to take out one of the pages from the book, and I'm going to start coloring it and then put it on a card for today's video. So I wanted to mention that the designs in the coloring book, you have the same design on the front and back of the paper, and it's not a problem because it doesn't really bleed through. I've done a little bit of watercoloring on some of the pages from the book, and I haven't had any problem with bleed through. Had a couple questions in my YouTube comments about how I position my blue painter's tape so evenly when I tape down my projects. So I thought I would show you guys this process and really emphasize what I do. So I tear off a strip that's about the size that I need. I hold it down with my left thumb, and then I can pivot and kind of slide it around with my right hand. And that gives me the opportunity to get it in the perfect position before I press the tape down onto my project. I'm going to go ahead and place that down on that side. And that one I did it in kind of more real time, what I usually do. So you didn't see me kind of wiggle it around very much. So I started painting with my Zig Clean Color Real Brush markers. This is the color Violet that I'm using. And that flower over on the left side, I started coloring it with my Spectrum Noir Sparkle pen in the color Clear. I was using just that as the kind of moisture to spread around the color. And then I just decided I didn't like how that was going, so instead of throwing out this piece or possibly even just turning the page over to start over, I decided that I would just slide everything over to the side and I would focus on the other side and really practice and see what I wanted to do with the rest of the picture. So I started coloring the other side with some flowers, and this time I'm just using plain water in my water brush. And the more I painted it, the more I kind of started liking it. So I'm glad I didn't give up on this painting and that I kept going. I'm only using 3 different colors for this coloring. Like I said before, I used the color Violet for the flowers, and then for the leaves and stems, I used ochre and olive green. So after I had all the flowers pretty much painted in, I moved on to the background, and I'm going to be using some Peerless watercolors for that. The color I'm using is Neutral Tint. It's from the bonus pack of Peerless watercolors, and I'll have all my supplies that I've used today linked in the video description below or in the supply section over at my blog. So I'm just coloring in the background area with that neutral tint. I'm sort of thinking that the light is coming from the top, so I'm adding a little more shading to the bottom of each of these areas. And I'm only coloring the background for the right side of this piece that I have taped down. I'm only going to be using a narrow strip. I'm going to be cutting off that flower where I started coloring before. And I actually did some color testing on that side as well. So I'm going to fill in all these areas. And because I missed some of those center areas of the flowers because I added so much color on top, I used a white gel pen to draw in those center areas of the flowers. Like I said before, the front and backs of these pages have the same design. And because I cut this down, I was able to take the other side of that design that was on the other side of the paper, and I turned it over. It's the exact same pattern, and I used it as a reference for how to draw in the centers of the flowers. So I'm going to remove the tape. I always bend the tape back, almost back on itself, and that helps prevent any tearing of the paper. So now I've showed you how I apply my tape and also how I remove it. And then I took my paper trimmer and trimmed the whole area down. I first trimmed off the sides that were protected by the tape. Then I chopped it off so it was just that narrow strip. So only the coloring that I worked on today is what I'm working with. Now I'm taking some basil 40-pound vellum, trimming that to be 4 1/4 by 11 inches long, and then very lightly scoring it at 5 1/2. This vellum is a very brittle paper, so you don't want to score it too much because otherwise it could crack it or tear the vellum. So very lightly scored, and then I folded it back to create my card base. Putting that inside this dotted embossing folder from Cuttlebug, and I'll run that through my Big Shot machine. I've switched out my magnetic platform and I am instead using my multi-purpose platform so that I can use that embossing folder. So I'll just run that through, and then I have some fun embossed dots on my vellum. I'm going to be adhering my watercoloring piece over the top. So I'm going to use some Tombow Extreme adhesive, and I'm just putting that all along the back of this piece here. And then I'll be adhering it onto the front of the card. Now you might be thinking, well, won't that show on the inside of the card? And it absolutely will. So I'm going to cut down some white cardstock and put it on the inside of the card. The white cardstock I'm going to use is Neenah Solar White, and this is the 80-pound version. I've actually cut out 2 of these pieces that are the exact same size, one for the very back of the inside of the card, and then one to go on the other side of the inside of the card for a place to write a message to my recipient. So I'm adhering this down onto the inside of the card. I'll trim off anything that was hanging out the side, and then I'll go ahead and prep that other piece I was talking about. So I'm putting adhesive on this white cardstock here, and then instead of adhering it straight down, I'm actually going to put it on top of that other piece I've already adhered, and this has the adhesive facing up at this point. And I'll line that up, and then I'll go ahead and close my card and press that down, and that makes it so that that inside area is in the exact position so you can't see it from the front of the card. The cool thing about this vellum is you can kind of see through it. It's a little bit translucent. So I wanted to make sure that the area on the inside where I would write a message to the recipient wouldn't be shown from the front of the card. As far as the sentiment goes for the card, I'm using the Congratulations die from Simon Says Stamp. This is actually one that I created for Simon, so it's my own handwriting. It's kind of fun. And I've cut it out in 2 different colors. I've cut it out in Neenah Solar White and also in dark chocolate cardstock from Simon. And I first adhered the white version, just using a little bit of my Ranger Multimedia Matte adhesive. And I just held that with my tweezers, applied some little dabs of adhesive, and then placed that down onto the card front. In order to hold that in place while I keep working, I'm going to place a large acrylic block over the top, and that's just going to hold everything after I have everything adhered down. And you'll see that in a minute. Then took that brown cutout, or die cut, and I placed that right over the top of the white, and I had it just a little bit offset. This is going to give that brown die cut a little bit of a shadow and make it more legible on top of this kind of busy pattern. So there's that block holding it in place, and then I was able to add some adhesive to the second half of the brown die cut and adhered that down onto the front of the card. This is going to finish off the card for today. Super simple and easy. I decided to keep it rather simple since the rest of the card was a little more involved with all the coloring. Hope you guys enjoyed today's video. This is part of the Daily Marker 30-Day Coloring Challenge. For more info on the challenge, you can head over to my blog and I'll have more info there. It's from my awesome friend Kathy Rakusin, who is encouraging everyone to do a little bit of coloring every day for the month of July and a few days into August. So that's the card for today. Hope you guys enjoyed. I will see you in the next card video, and thanks for watching.